Lift your hands.
Right, hello, good morning and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Wednesday, the 23rd day of June 2021. By His grace, we're alive and we're here with yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude will go to the Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive and, of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making the rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into my panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Whoa. Daily Graphic. Couple sue Lekma Hospital. Allege substandard care, but facility refutes claim. University in the Forest. KNUST still grinning. Yeah. It's something you won't miss, even driving on the main road. Law to reduce backlog of criminal cases in offing. Ghanaian Times. Should we be scared? Health alert, new COVID-19 variant in Ghana. GMA confirms very contagious Delta virus. And the interesting thing is that a 26 cedi Sputnik V cannot deal with it. Why Islamic girls SHS students besiege police station, demand release of 4 teachers. Fight against COVID-19, schools must stay resolute. Boku braces for guinea fowl processing factory under 1D1F. Daily Guide. Alajo doctor plotted in court coup. Jomora MP hot. Gift 11 deputies approved. Churches fight ban on noise making. Don't underrate COVID-19. The new crusading guide. More jobs under 1D1F as Akufo-Addo inspects 36 million Ghana cedis watermelon juice and rice factories in Wale Wale. KUC law student makes strong case for law and naturopathic medicine. Kwashi Kuma has no chief. Royal House's caution. 5 years on, Betway revitalizes sports betting. Probe Ochiman in court and his Moradin gang security expert. Who's Ochiman? The Insight. Labour Minister snubs media question on child labour. COVID-19, scientists warn against spread of deadly Delta strain in Ghana. The dialectics of magophilia and magophobia, an analysis of policies and philosophies of late Tanzanian president. That must be an interesting one. Okay. Genocide in Xinjiang, an outright lie. 3 cattle thieves burned to death in Navrungo. The Informer. Sayo at NDC headquarters over chairmanship slot. Ampofu mosquito, slag it out. Full soldiers kick against the duel. Let's Make Accra Work Again campaign. Minister urges President to sack non-performing MDCs. Ghana's performance in latest Global Peace Index. Akufo-Addo touts achievement. $10 million infrastructural support for free SHS policy. Energy Minister Lord Stallo urges oil giant to adopt insane secondary. Commentary. Asedu Nketia produce the figures and stop creating more problems for Dominic Ayeni. The Inquisitor. Procurement of COVID-19 vaccine. Ministry of Health in illegality. Asabi under pressure to go for NPP chair. Asabi. Energy Minister praises Talos $10 million investment in free SHS. Hamid appointed NPA CEO. Congratulations. Magdan celebrates 50th birthday with 1,500 widows. The Herald. Fame chasing Attorney General indicts his former boss and others as he runs away from the $170 million judgment debt after sleeping on the job. Parliament approves bribe giving, quote unquote, MP as deputy minister despite attacking colleagues. Adan chief allows mortuary near assault winning site. Kingmaker stripped him of title. Coming up, more on Kennedy Japan's multi-million-dollar contracts at Cocobot. The Daily Statesman. 1D1F agenda progresses. 36 million Ghana cedis Wale Wale watermelon factory nears completion. Ashanti Regency's rise in COVID-19 cases. MP hot over Ivorian citizenship. Mustafa appointed MPA boss. The Daily Searchlight. Lack of jobs causes political violence. Stakeholders at Ododio Confab. Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid appointed NPA Chief Executive. $170 million judgment debt against Ghana is a question. It's no longer a question, it's a fact. It's a fact. So we couldn't be represented because of COVID when it was a virtual hearing. Okay. Maybe God will have mercy on us because of a cathedral. First ever Mr. and Miss Autism. Nayiri praises Akufo-Addo. The Ghanaian publisher. Kennedy Japan cut sold for cardio center at 37 hospital. Produce renunciation documents. Court orders Jomoro MP. Mustafa Hamid heads NPA. Akufo-Addo inspects 36 million Ghana cedis watermelon factory. Children have confidence in Ghana but say job creation critical for the country. CR survey. The custodian. Northeast gave me first-class assistant. Akufo-Addo extols Bawumia. Inspects 36 million Ghana cedis watermelon factory. It's time to review NDC constitution. Sylvester Mensah. CJ is harassing our lawyers. NDC cries out. Mustafa Hamid appointed MPA CEO. Prove non-Ivorian citizenship. Court orders Jomoro MP. Daily Post. WAEC certificates likely to be rejected abroad, says APAC. Throw out Chief Justice's petition. Dominic Ayine to General Legal Counsel. London court throws out AG and others for sleeping on $170 million case. Business and Financial Times. Digitization here to stay. Embrace it. Experts spy over relevance of banks' legacy systems, but agree that transition must occur to keep pace with digitalization. Farm Access CHAG creates 2 million Ghana cedis medicine supply fund. Bank of Ghana, please pursue exporters over export receipts. Etrima Rural Bank on the path of growth. Shareholders urged to invest more. And that's about it. For the front pages, we'll be back shortly.
Gets dirty and wet after wiping your sweat or blowing your nose with it. Keeping a dirty handkerchief in your pocket or bag is very unhygienic. Reusing it increases your chances of getting sick from germs. That is why I always use Flora disposable handkerchief. Flora disposable handkerchiefs is disposable, thus making it a more hygienic option. It's thick and very absorbent. With 10 tissues in a pack, Flora disposable handkerchief is better than a cloth handkerchief. The Flora toilet roll, Flora multi-purpose paper towels, Flora table napkins, and Flora box tissues in a shop near you. For bill purchases, call Delta Paper Mail on 0243 033 033.
Yenim sa upe football pa. And Nuntina High Sense as sponsor Euro 2020. Edia Mauno. Nisa Suntina Yatiti TV Suse who Edia Mauno. A High Sense Euro 2020 TV Super Promo. Kahuai kwajo brand new High Sense TV and nebuo dafo. Pictures near clear na color near deep. Sound quality this so dear one it here. High Sense TV so dear entry power. About down one access you are. Akona utusa abefu. If it's 18th June, Akofim 11th July. A High Sense Euro 2020 TV Super Promo. Emma Refisa High Sense and Kwan Emma 5 years warranty. High Sense Hero 2020 TV Super Promo. Ekosu wa High Sense showrooms e wa Ghana fa na nyina. Kwa Judia na nsenya o. High Sense everyday prices for everyday people. Hisense, official sponsor at the Euro 2020.
The average human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV, brought to you in kind partnership with X Natural Mineral Water. With me on the show this morning, I have the managing editor of the Insight newspaper, Kwesi Pratt Jr. Good morning, Kwesi. And also with me on the show is the Member of Parliament for the Subin constituency in the Ashanti region, Eugene Boakye is here with me on the show. Good morning, Eugene.
Good morning.
Because I'm sure at the tail end of the program, you saw the Babo goes home this weekend. I mean, Saint Ibafuboni, you know, he gave me my first job in journalism.
Oh.
Yes, at Radio Gold. Some 25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and it's gone. But this weekend is when we get to pay our last respects to him. You know, I didn't know he was a chief until he passed on.
I didn't know his father was a chief. I didn't know that was also a chief.
He was
chief where?
In the Seshi area.
But it's matrilineal inheritance. It's not.
Well, I don't know. So it's a reason why it's going to be buried there. Although everything
in the Western region.
Yes. Buried there.
Western North now. So I knew that his father was a chief.
Yes. I think his father was the paramount chief.
Yeah.
Wow. So this weekend we'll bury him. And then Roland Agambire, RLG, also lost his mother. She will also be buried this weekend at Sirigu in the Upper East region.
I haven't seen Roland for a long time. Maybe 7-8 years.
I think it's just taking it easy and minding his business. As for Ghana, when they come after you, you just have to take it easy and focus on your family and your life and see what God does for you. I've seen a story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. You know, in abroad, lawsuits over medical negligence and others is quite common. In Ghana, it is not. And a lot of people believe that it perhaps is even the reason why people don't really care. And there's a story on the front page of the Daily Graphic. First of all, the matter is still in court. But the Daily Graphic captures both angles. And I just thought that, it struck me that is something which is of interest. Because you hear people send messages and speak about them, but people hardly sue. for this one. Now, this story by Suleiman Mustafa reads that alleged negligent removal of the womb of a 30-year-old patient, 30, at Lekma Hospital without her consent has landed a medical facility in trouble. The woman, now childless, was at a Teshi-based municipal hospital to be delivered of her first baby, which came out successfully after a cesarean section. But the victim, Ms. Doris Opon, who has sued the hospital, later complained of severe abdominal pains due to postpartum hemorrhage, for which she was rushed back to the theater, where her uterus was removed, allegedly without her consent, making her barren for the rest of her life. Ms. Opon and her husband, Thomas Adai, alleged in their suit at Accra High Court that a healthy male infant she had been delivered of and who had been placed under the care of the medical officers of Lekma was negligently and wrongly fed by a nurse, causing him to suffer from asphyxia neonatorum, a condition that affected his ability to take in oxygen, resulting in his death 3 days after he was born. So she has lost the kid and she's lost the womb. According to a writ of summons filed by Ms. Opon, the loss of her womb could have been avoided had the medical team at the Lekma Hospital applied best practice of care. It is her case that the doctors at Lekma allegedly failed to inform her of the situation that necessitated the urgency of the second surgery, and also failed to obtain consent from her or her family in accordance with patient's charter of the Ghana Health Service. Neither did they do so after the procedure. Because I know that anytime there's supposed to be a procedure, you have to, give your consent. You have to say, unless,
except in emergencies.
Yes, unless in emergency cases where you perhaps are not in a position to do something like that.
And death cases.
Yes. Now, this is the response of Lekma. The administrator of the Lekma Hospital, Mr. Charles Banafu, when contacted, stated that the hospital followed all the relevant protocols of best practice in attending to their patients. Quote, Lekma is doing everything humanly possible to give the best of health care, as enjoined by the Ghana Health Service. We do not compromise on quality. And for that matter, the interest of our service clients is always protected, as stated by the slogan of the Ghana Health Service, your health, our concern. In her suit, Ms. Opon alleged that officers at Lekma failed to disclose the loss of her uterus to her until a nurse distastefully came to her bedside and unexpectedly beckoned her to have a look at her removed uterus in a bucket, a situation she was not aware of and unprepared for, which traumatized her as a result. The plaintiff's left ovary has been removed without her knowledge or consent, an action which officers of the second defendant neglected and or failed to disclose to her. And the reasons for that ovary removal are still unknown. And she alleged in a statement of claim that the grossly negligent conduct of medical officers at Lekma had plunged her into premature menopausal conditions decades ahead of her time, coupled with the perpetual anxiety of a permanent loss of procreation ability. The plaintiff has lost the very existence of her relevance in society as a woman and has been deprived of the joy of motherhood at such a young age, compounded with the post-traumatic stress disorder she's been subjected to, the suit stated. And so they go on and on. Now, what are the reliefs that they're asking for? They want the High Court, they want compensation for the loss of a uterus due to the alleged negligence, compensation for the injury that negligently caused the death of the baby, as well as compensation for the loss of their child due to the negligence allegedly on the part of the hospital. They're asking for compensation for pains, anxiety, and post-traumatic disorder they're going through for the loss. So this is it, but you heard from the hospital administrator in 2 paragraphs says, Lekma is doing everything humanly possible to give the best of health care as enjoined by the Ghana Health Service. We do not compromise on quality, and for that matter, the interest of our service clients is always protected, as stated by the slogan of the Ghana Health Service.
Well, this is not an easy case to discuss for a number of reasons. One is just the fact that the matter is before a court.
Yes.
And we are stopped from making prejudicial statements. The determination of what is prejudicial is also a very difficult thing to do, and so on. So it makes this discussion very difficult. What can be said, however, is that this is a very unusual case within the Ghanaian circumstances. A few years ago, a woman walked into my office and she complained that she had had surgery at one of the most reputable hospitals in this country. and that since the surgery, and she had had the surgery about 6 weeks earlier, that since the surgery, she's been having severe abdominal pains. And that any time she went to the hospital, she was given painkillers and so on. And she thought that, you know, it was unusual. So I advised this woman to see another doctor, and eventually turned out that the instruments which were used for her surgery had been left in her stomach. You understand? I mean, I was really horrified, you know, and I thought that it was the height of negligence. So I started complaining publicly about this woman's condition. Of course, the woman didn't go to court. You know, she was advised not to go to court because for various reasons, she was told that she could not win against, you know, doctors, medical practitioners and so on. But Randy, my shock was when a doctor friend of mine called and said that it was not unusual. That happens. Instruments used for surgery are sometimes left, you know, in the body and sewed up. You know, I was so shocked that this happens. But for a lot of practitioners that I spoke to, they didn't think that this was extraordinary. You understand? And that was the first shock that I got. Now, the second thing that I think is important is that medicine is not as an exact science as lay people believe. You know, I had always believed that medicine was in the category of very exact science, you know. The fact is that no two human bodies are the same, you know. So symptoms which doctors use, you know, as the first tool of analysis is symptoms. And eventually they go on to things like x-rays, you know, to things like tissue tests and so on, to determine causes and so on. But they can't always get it right. There's a huge element of human error, you know, in medicine, simply because no two bodies are the same. You know, Randy, a friend of mine went to the hospital, and he saw, what do they call them, an urologist. And he wanted to find out whether indeed he was developing prostate cancer. Now, what was found out was that organ, the prostate, one was bigger than the other. It's two. The prostate is two. One was bigger than the other. The urologist became alarmed and wanted to find out why one was bigger than the other. He saw another urologist who said that, but it's normal. That in some human beings, one is bigger than the other. In other human beings, they are the same size. But of course, when you detect that one is bigger than the other, you may do some test to confirm, and so on. So this is medicine, you understand? Now, there's the issue of consent, which is an important issue, because the violation of the human body is not permitted under any circumstances. You cannot enter a human body without consent. You can't do anything to a human body if the person is in a position to refuse consent and consent is refused. It's very important. However, under some circumstances, practitioners can carry out, you know, procedures without consent. One, when there's very little time, you know, and when the patient is actually in a life and death situation, doctors can take the liberty to enter the human body to carry out processes and so on without consent. Now, I believe very strongly that these are some of the issues that the court will be called upon to consider. Whether indeed consent was possible at that time, and whether indeed, in the circumstances of this particular case, consent could be obtained without endangering the life of the woman and so on. There's another side of the case which has to do with the alleged wrong feeding of the baby. Details have not been provided, and therefore I'm not in a position to say what it was. But in court, I'm sure that the details we provided. Is it that the baby was fed with the wrong food? Or is it that it was the right food, but the method of feeding was the problem, and so on? We don't know. But the court, I'm sure, will go into all of this. Whatever it is, the outcome of this case should be historical in a country in which people are reluctant to take medical facilities and medical officers on, in lawsuits and so on. I think it's also important for us to understand very clearly that sometimes in all of these cases, trauma plays a part. Trauma plays a part. You were reading the story and something struck me. This is a woman who has just delivered. She's had complications and had to go through some procedures. She did not know that her womb had been removed. Then all of a sudden, a nurse pops up with her womb in a bucket and says, look, this is your womb. That's a bit troubling, The question the courts will have to determine is whether or not the practice of showing parts which had been removed in procedures to the patient is proper. And whether or not, when that is done, is also proper and so on. These are all matters that the courts will determine. We lay people can only go as far as I've gone. And I like to leave it here.
Okay, first of all, let me say good morning to esteemed viewers. Yes, already you said the matter is...
And to your constituents.
And my constituents, yes, it's in court, so without prejudice.
But you never greet the First Lady. There are some of your colleagues, they spend the first 3 minutes greeting the First Lady and the Second Lady and so on. You never do that. Why?
The first lady knows that she's always in my thoughts.
Kindly ignore Kuzi.
No, the First Lady knows that she's always in my thoughts and my prayers. And you see, you should have known me by now that I don't sing praises on such programs. Yes, but the First Lady knows how I feel about her. So I wish her well this morning. Good morning to you, Her Excellency Rebecca Akufo-Addo, wherever you are. Good morning to you. Yes.
Crazy Pratt.
Anyway. But without prejudice, we can't go into the matter as we have liked to. But a case of such proportions must be looked at, like we said, because of its historical significance. In our part of the world, people are not poised to take medical officers to court and medical facilities to court. So we await the proceedings in court and see. But clearly a case has been established, a civil case has been established. A duty of care was owed, a duty of care has been breached, it has resulted in an injury. So I'm sure the 3 key stages of a civil matter have been met. And, we await to see what will transpire in court. Because the matter is in court, we can't do justice to it, but I believe that the health facility will have access to, answer due to the nature of the reportage. Anyway, I'll leave it here.
Okay. All right, so let's look at another issue which appears to be a bit new. We're not used to seeing Chief Justice report the conduct of lawyers to the General Legal Council, but it appears that we're seeing that lately. And the NDC, the biggest opposition party, has had cause to actually hold a press conference and issue a statement. We also have information in the Daily Post on page 7 that Dr. Ayine has responded to the General Legal Council. And so the NDC says that it stands with Dr. Ayine against what it describes as a campaign of judicial tyranny being waged by the Chief Justice of the Republic against lawyers who identify with the NDC. And they say that the latest persecution of Dr. Ayine is part of a grand agenda by the current Chief Justice to intimidate, cower, and muzzle all dissenting voices, particularly those in the party who dare to speak against some of the strange decisions that characterize the 2020 presidential election petition. And, well, we go on. Mr. Asiedu Nketia, the General Secretary of the party, says the party will not kowtow to any judicial tyranny in the country. So the CJ is attempting to intimidate and suppress views of members of the NDC. Quote, as you may be aware, only a few months ago, some lawyers with NDC leanings, specifically lawyer Abraham Amaliba and David Annan, were hauled to the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council by the Chief Justice in a similar fashion and harassed for expressing their views on the constitution of the Supreme Court panel that had the 2020 election. Also not long ago, the Honorable Roxy Nelson, K.H. Defumakbo, the NDC Member of Parliament for South Dayi, received a similar invitation to appear before the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council. He noted that Dr. Ayine's views about the independence of the judiciary are views he is entitled to in line with his freedom of expression guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution. So he was courteous to the court and kept his language temperate and decent. He stayed within the bounds of professionalism. He was neither scurrilous nor scandalous. For him to be accused by the Chief Justice of disparaging Ghana's judiciary over these tempered and justified comments is not only bizarre and unfortunate, but speaks volumes about the Chief Justice. And the NDC said was concerned at the seeming judicial dictatorship that is fast festering under the leadership of the current Chief Justice, describing it as an unwelcome development which threatens free speech and could potentially undermine our justice system. Now, Dr. Ayine has urged the disciplinary committee of the General Legal Council to throw out a petition filed against him by the Chief Justice. In a response cited by Ghana Web, Dominic Ayine said that the complaints against him by the CJ to the effect that he has maligned the Supreme Court with his statement are untenable, as he only expressed his opinion as a lawyer. He said that as a lawyer with over 25 years' experience, he has always expressed his opinion on judgments without attacking the integrity of judges. He touted his disciplinary record and gave account of his rise to becoming a deputy attorney general. In a subtopic of his response, the General Legal Council titled Reasons Why the Committee Should Not Proceed to Hold an Inquiry, Dr. Ayine enumerated a number of justifications for his comments to buttress why he should not be investigated. Quote, I've been a practicing lawyer in Ghana for the past 25 years, and my practice has substantially involved representation of clients before the courts and tribunals of this country. I've always conducted myself with utmost decorum towards the judges, before whom I've had the singular privilege of representing my clients. In the course of my 25 years of law practice, I've never been rebuked for unprofessional or disrespectful conduct by any judge or magistrate and never been reported for such conduct to the General Legal Council. I've also had the privilege of serving as Deputy Attorney General of this country for 4 years, and I carried out the duties of my office with utmost decorum towards the judiciary. Indeed, as Deputy Attorney General, I had the privilege of representing Attorney General on the Judicial Council and the General Legal Council. I was a passionate advocate for judicial independence and fair treatment of the judiciary by the executive branch of government. The justices and senior lawyers who served with me on these two august bodies will testify to my record. As a law teacher, and in the best traditions of that faculty, I was often quick to supply judgments freshly delivered by the courts. So it goes on and on. It says, I criticize such decisions publicly. For example, when the Ghana 50 decision of the High Court came down, not only did I share it to my students of administrative law, but I also wrote a candid critique of the judgment which was published in the Daily Graphic on September 10, 2010. In the article titled The Ghana 50 Ruling, Why Justice Mafusa is Wrong, I described the reasoning and conclusions of the High Court as troubling and argued that his lordship not only misapplied the law but drew conclusions and rendered a decision that effectively deprives commissions of inquiry of their use as tools for holding public office holders accountable for their actions that might have caused injury to the public welfare. So he goes on, he gives examples and all that. So he says, throw out Chief Justice's petition and don't hold the inquiry. Eugene, the NDC says that the Chief Justice, by his actions, I'm trying to get the exact, yes, it says that the Chief Justice, by his actions, it says a seeming judicial dictatorship that is fast festering under the leadership of the current Chief Justice. And this is an unwelcome development which threatens free speech and could potentially undermine our justice system.
Seeming
dictatorship.
Seeming
judicial
dictatorship.
That is fast festering under the leadership of the current Chief Justice.
This country can play with words, so. Anyway. Ayeni is a colleague of mine, one of the finest members of parliament. I've not seen him at work as a lawyer, but as a colleague of, I think he's one of the most decent, polite guys in the house. Very approachable, what have you. Then came the election petition of 2020, where that day, as a matter of fact, I was watching him on telly when he uttered those words that, the predetermined agenda, blah, blah, blah. He was hauled before the court for contempt and was purged of it. I mean, virtually all the lawyers, in the courtroom, those outside of the courtroom, spoke highly of his decorous behavior and him as a very decent chap. He got off. The case then ran a course. We are out of court, and the next thing, as for this particular CDD program, I did not watch it. I did not, read about it. But for the Chief Justice of the Republic to write to Ghana Legal Council, is it?
General Legal Council.
General Legal Council. Well, I'm not sure the content of what Professor Ayine said. So it's very difficult for me. But for the Chief Justice to write, maybe the Chief Justice also feels that, look, you've come before us, you've been left off the hook. The next minute, you are outside saying all manner of things about us. So I'm sure, as a Chief Justice, head of the legal profession in our country, I have to get the General Legal Council involved to ensure that discipline is instilled in the profession. It's a highly disciplined profession anyway. The bit where I'm a bit lost is the bit where they say that the Chief Justice has issues with lawyers who identify with NDC. I mean,
and they proceed to give examples.
Yes, but you see, the Chief Justice does not just rise from a lawyer to the bench. He was first a High Court judge, Appeals Court judge, and a Supreme Court judge before becoming the Chief Justice. So I'm sure in the last 20 years or so, there are records. We can, get copies of his records as per his rulings, and see how he's treated lawyers who are aligned with the NDC.
Okay, that's not what the NDC says. The NDC says that since he became
Chief Justice, fair enough,
he has decided to use this petition to the General Legal Council to call lawyers who are pro-NDC. And they say that, look, he's done it to these two lawyers, the NDC, he's done it to the firm Akpo's NDC, he's doing it to Dr. Ayine.
David Annan.
David Annan and Amaliba. And then the firm Akpo, and then Ayine.
So, Randy,
they try to establish a certain trend.
Okay, let's try and take the personalities out and look at the substance of the petition. Was it indeed these people have made scurrilous or coruscating attacks on the integrity of the judiciary? That's, sure. The Chief Justice will have no choice but to report the matter to the General Legal Council, of which he is also subject to. You understand? So I think that we should wait and see how the whole thing pans out. We shouldn't just rush to conclusion. If indeed,
what do you think, Eugene? What do you think of those who say that in the course of a case or a trial, the court, yes, can bring erring, quote unquote, lawyers, before it for contempt and those things. When it's done and the court has issued its ruling or judgment on the matter, critique of same should not be treated this way. What do you think of those who hold that view?
Well, I'm sure after the 2013 petition, Mr. Chachikata did the same. I think Kwesi, you hosted him, right? Was it on TV3?
In fact, the Dankwa Institute
also did same
organized one with H. Kwesi Prempeh and many other lawyers.
And this senior lawyer, Samu Kujetu. Yes.
And they took the decisions of the judges,
yes,
line by line, as they say it in the trotro, line by line.
Anyway, so I mean, critiquing, judges are human like all of us. So critiquing, but Randy, I think it also depends on the language and the tone.
Okay.
You understand? Okay. Because I remember in the course of the petition, the Chief Justice, His Lordship Kwesi Eni-Yeboah, admonished the lawyers that lawyers have had a way of speaking. And I think it was, I remember, I forgot which lawyer who used the word and he was asked to retract. And he said, this is a law court. We have a way of speaking, so use our words, or, our choice of words. So, Randy, I will hasten slowly. I want the matter to run its full course. I don't think that the petition should be thrown out. The Chief Justice ought to be heard. Dr. Ayine also ought to be heard. And I'm sure there are senior lawyers within the Ghana, within the General Legal Council, who will make their conclusions known to all of us. And if indeed Dr. Ayine is at fault, he ought to apologize. He has to apologize. If the Chief Justice too is also using his powers as Chief Justice, right, to, as it were, to cow lawyers who identify the opposition party into submission, that will also be looked at and dealt with. So I think I have the patience to wait and see how the whole thing pans out. There's my bit on it.
Crazy.
Well, look, I think that we need to establish the principles very, very clearly. And for me, one of the most important principles in this matter is simply the principle of the fallibility of human institutions and human beings. There's no law, nothing in the Constitution which upholds the principle of infallibility of the judiciary. There's nothing like that. Indeed, even the president is not deemed to be infallible by the Constitution. And that is why there are provisions for impeachment in the Constitution. You understand? Parliament itself is not deemed to be infallible. And indeed, I think there have been one or two cases where some decisions of Parliament have been questioned, by recourse, to the courts and so on. So, ab initio, from the very beginning, it's important for all institutions, state institutions, and state actors to understand in very clear terms that they are not infallible. They have to understand that very clearly. The second principle, which is most important for me, is that all of these state actors, whether they are presidents, speakers of parliament, judges of the Supreme Court, and so on, they act in our name. And the powers they exercise are not personal to them. They are exercising our powers. You understand? Now, at the level of theory, tomorrow morning, well, maybe tomorrow morning is too short, but the people of Ghana have a right to abolish the Supreme Court. You have a right to abolish the Supreme Court.
That's another realm, Kwesi.
Pardon?
That's an extreme realm.
But we have a right to abolish the Supreme Court.
Not under the Constitution.
The Constitution itself, there's no part of this Constitution which cannot be amended.
Of course.
Even entrenched clauses can be amended. So it is possible, going through due processes, for us to determine that, after all, the Supreme Court is not serving our interest. And therefore, rather than have a Supreme Court, cases should terminate at the Court of Appeal. That's the right of the citizens of Ghana, acting collectively and so on. You understand? So I think that's also another principle which needs to be acknowledged and upheld. Now, there are some very interesting things. The former Chief Justice, Madame Wood, Teresa Wood,
Georgina Theodora
Wood, is quoted as having said that if the judiciary is to function effectively in the interest of the general good and so on, citizens ought to express their views about the performance of the judiciary and so on. The current Chief Justice, when he appeared before Parliament for vetting, made the point that citizens participation in the judicial processes and so on was very, very important. And he made the point that if things were happening in the judiciary, the public was aware, and the public failed to speak out, there was no way that he, as head of the judiciary, was going to be able to know that and to act upon it. And therefore, it was important for citizens, you know, to look at the judiciary, to say what they don't like about the judiciary or what they think is going wrong with the judiciary and so on. The current Chief Justice made these statements in Parliament before you. You understand?
But it's not to suggest that, look, yes, you can speak, but how you speak and what you speak about is also important.
Don't worry, I'm building my case.
Okay.
You know, you understand? So it is clear. Okay. Now, for me, what is striking is that sometime this year, there was a public forum somewhere in Kumasi discussing a Supreme Court decision in the 1960s.
Ria Koto.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Discussing a Supreme Court decision in the 1960s. The current Chief Justice actually sent a representative who read a statement on his behalf, tearing that judgment into pieces. You understand?
And that has been done for decades. I mean,
Exactly.
for decades.
Exactly.
It's a classical case.
Exactly. I mean, the current president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, I have video clips of him tearing Supreme Court decisions into shreds.
Which ones?
Many of them. I can make the videos available.
I mean, even at a law school, it's a normal thing. I mean,
so I think we should avoid a situation where we begin to think that decisions of the Supreme Court cannot be criticized.
or any other court.
Or any other court. Why? The president who is elected by universal adult suffrage can be criticized. The person he appoints as Chief Justice cannot be criticized. Does that make sense?
Nobody says you cannot criticize the Chief Justice, basically.
Master, step by step.
Okay.
Step by step. You understand? So, as of the principle of being able to criticize, I mean...
But the Chief Justice has not petitioned the General Legal Council because he has been criticized.
That's not the point.
Because decisions
Of the Supreme Court.
Of the Supreme Court have been examined and criticized. That's why we are before the General Legal Council.
And he thinks that it's been done in a way unbecoming of the training of lawyers.
Especially a law teacher.
He thinks that has been done in a manner which scandalizes
The court.
the Supreme Court.
Yes, you're correct.
That's the point.
You're right.
You understand? Yeah. Now, that's a very hypothetical situation. If a court behaves in a scandalous manner, how can you deal with that behavior? Because courts are human institutions. Courts can behave in scandalous manner. You understand? So when the courts themselves behave in scandalous manner, what are we supposed to do? You have no option.
In fact, interestingly, Kwesi,
Yes, sir.
you can have superior courts tearing the ruling of courts below them, especially when issues come on appeal.
I'm not even going there.
Yeah, I mean, you can sometimes even the views expressed in those decisions overturning the rulings of those courts. It's terrible.
I'm not even going there. In this country, we've had the Anas Arimiyao Anas episode. You understand? The judiciary itself sat in judgment over the outcome of some of those investigations and decided to dismiss judges and so on. Now, let somebody tell me that what was revealed in the Anas investigations did not demonstrate extreme scandalous behavior by people on the bench. So when you have cases of this scandalous behavior, how are we supposed to deal with it without exposing the judiciary to scandals,
without scandalizing the judiciary.
Without scandalizing the judiciary. When the judiciary itself has scandalized itself. You understand? So I think that, look, in all of this, it's about how we weight the various principles. It's about how we weight the facts before us, and so on. It's how we weight the various principles and weight the facts before us, which enables us to come to some firm conclusions about issues before us. You understand? Now, in this particular situation, I am appalled that it is being reduced to an NDC versus Chief Justice quarrel. It shouldn't. Because I've had very prominent lawyers in this country, prominent lawyers, who are not members of the NDC, who have expressed serious misgivings about the decision to refer Dr. Dominic Ayine to the General Legal Counsel. Serious lawyers. I mean, there's this lawyer who is popularly referred to as Koku Azan.
Yes.
He's written copiously about how this decision to refer Dominic Ayine to the General Legal Counsel would undermine the right of the public, to free expression on judicial matters and so on. He's written so copiously. And there are many other lawyers who are not NDC who see something
In
wrong.
fact, H. Kwesi Prempeh of the CDD.
Yes.
I mean, he was the first person I listened to who disagreed with the move by the Chief Justice and also said that it was wrong. And in his view, he said that at the same forum, there were lawyers who disagreed with Dr. Ayine's position, and they also expressed same vehemently.
Yeah. And it was an intellectual exercise, you understand. Now, there are some questions which have been legitimately asked. You see, the law itself is such that there is not just one interpretation of the law. The kind of interpretation of the law you get is dependent on who is doing the interpretation, their social orientation, their political orientation, their cultural background, and so on. All of that goes into interpreting the law. Okay? So therefore, it becomes necessary as we move higher on the bench to increase numbers. And you increase numbers in order that different backgrounds and different views may be reflected in the process of achieving justice. So you go to the High Court, there's one judge sitting there. You go to the Court of Appeal, it is 3 judges who are going to listen to the case. You go to the Supreme Court, it may be up to 11 judges and so on. So that the different backgrounds and so on would find reflection in the interpretation of the law. Okay. Now, based on this, practice and principle, I am sitting back and I'm just wondering, and I'm wondering as a layperson, how come that matters, a number of matters, go before Supreme Court judges in a trial? And on each one of them, there's unanimity.
It's possible.
It is possible.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that it's not possible.
Okay.
It is possible, but it raises questions also.
Why?
Because human beings are not wired that way. Human beings, by our nature.
This will not be the first time that you've had unanimity at the courts.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about unanimity.
So it shouldn't be strange.
No, but I'm talking about unanimity on every issue of law. Every. Not one. Every issue of law. Why? Randy, I listened, paid particular attention to the 2012 election petition. Why? How many judges were sitting on the case?
5.
There were different viewpoints. When it came to interpreting the law and so on, there were different viewpoints.
I think 9 rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were different viewpoints. So sitting at home and being a layperson And watching this trial, what struck me, and it struck most people, it even struck lawyers, you understand, that on every single issue there was unanimity and so on. Maybe this is the view of a layperson. I'm a layperson.
I'll help you. I'll help you on
You
that.
are not a layperson.
I'll help you on that.
Is the son of a judge.
No, it doesn't make him a judge.
He's been reading
all the two petitions. I've looked very closely. The first one I was virtually in court every day.
Yeah.
In 2013.
Okay. Let me just take a break and then
let's finish it.
No, I haven't seen you finish my submission. But no problem.
We'll be back shortly.
Safe First Charge System with 2-for-1 certification. 90Hz Superfluid display. 6.95-inch Full HD+. MediaTek Helio G95 processor. Unbeatable gaming experience. Infinix Note 10 Pro, faster and
artistic full house design and decor services and free decor ideas for your space. Our products and service is unparalleled, boasting of top-tier clients all over the globe.
Jamila Home, home of first-class quality furniture, beautiful chandeliers, and antiques.
When
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Shows brought to you in kind partnership with X Natural Mineral Water. Still with me on the show, I have Kwesi Pratt Jr. and Eugene Boachi. Yes, Eugene.
Yes, I was saying while there was unanimity in almost every application or every ruling in the just and the petition, was there something known as the stare decisis in law, meaning that almost everything that was played out this time had been played out in 2013. So the judges were more or less going by those precedents. And I'm sure that's the reason why Kwesi finds that most of the decisions made or rulings made were of unanimous nature. Also, you can criticize or critique the academics, the Supreme Court verdict or a verdict of any court for that matter. But we see, like you rightly said, to do so in a manner that scandalizes or brings the integrity of the court into question is, I believe, what the judges are trying to, or the judges of the Supreme Court are trying to protect. I sat here until the last time that, you know, the last pint of blood in me, I will protect and defend the judiciary. Because I think that if that goes away or the integrity of it is attacked in a manner that good, decent people don't speak up about it, then that means democracy is gone to the dogs. So we must all strive to protect the judiciary and ensure that they do the right thing. That's why I want the petition referred to the General Legal Counsel to run its full course, so that I'm sure it's being manned by the senior judges there, senior lawyers there, so they can look at the merits of it and say, look, Mr. Chief Justice, we think you are wrong here, or Dr. Ina, I think you went overboard here. And then we can all begin, because it's shaping, it's having an intellectual discourse that's going to shape the future of Ghanaian jurisprudence, and how academics like Dr. Ine can do their work without any threat of cowing them with submission or what have you. Because I don't see Chief Justice Eni Yeboah trying to cow anybody. I also see him as a very decent man. I mean, he has been a lawyer almost all his life. He joined the bench about 20 years ago. He's more of a lawyer than a judge. And I don't see why, you know, anybody will feel that he wants to cow, you know, respected lawyers in our society to submission because they disagree with him. That's the job of lawyers, to disagree. You know, they always disagree among themselves, and they always interpret laws according to their own understanding and their own upbringing and their own background and what have you. And that's the beauty of democracy and the beauty of the judiciary. And I mean, let's all hasten slowly and wait for the General Legal Counsel to come up with his conclusion so that we can all begin to have another discussion. Ria Koto is a very classic case. At that time, Ghana didn't even have a Supreme Court, did we? 60 years ago, do we even have a Supreme Court? I don't think we did. We did not. I think we had an appeals court. Yes? And Ria Koto is a very classical case of where the chief linguist of the Otumfuo Asante, Nana Baffour Koto, and others had been imprisoned because of their political activities, and that was tested in the court. And it has become a classic case for all law students of the Great Republic and lawyers alike. And it is not the first time we celebrate. I'm sure, I don't know whether your issue with it is the fact that it was staged in Kumasi this time around. But it's always been held, and people are learning. I learned about it the first time, I think about 10, 15 years ago.
I guess the point Kwesi makes is that the Ria Koto thing, you always, you know, the Ria Koto thing is celebrated. It's not seen as a bastardization or a scandalization of the court. You understand me? And the point he makes is that even Chief Justices participate in it. And the current Chief Justice even participated. And from what Kwesi said, a representative of his, so it was a statement.
Yes, even had,
yes, even And in his statement, there was a critique of the Ria Akoto judgment. So I guess what I understand from Kwesi is that if you look at within the context of Ria Akoto, it means that critique of decisions of the court are allowed.
But Randy, has Justice Eniye said anywhere that nobody can critique him or criticize him?
Well, the view of some is that this new, I was going to say pension, but it might not be appropriate.
No,
this new thing of
the Chief Justice himself
reporting lawyers to the General Legal Council for commentary on cases decided by the courts could stifle, public discourse.
I don't think Kwesi Eniye can stifle critiquing judgments in this country. How is he going to do that? Lawyers are, by their training, naturally, are meant to disagree.
Well, you be mindful. The next time a lawyer decides to speak about a matter, he'll be mindful of the General Legal Council and the fact that the CJ could petition the General Legal Council.
But when a CJ petition...
So that's the whole thing about cowering, and culture of silence. It's just to describe a certain environment which makes people hesitate to want to express themselves because of a kind of environment that has been created.
You have a point, but I wonder how the culture...
I'm not saying that he has done that. I'm just saying
that.
Of
course. Yes, but I wonder how he's going to do it because, first and foremost, lawyers by their trade, like I said, are always taking different viewpoints on matters. And lawyers by their training will always, because like Wally said, after the 2013 petition, Okudzeto & Co did a yeoman's job on the verdict, and after 2020, Aine is doing the same. Who knows? The next election, the election after that, lawyers will come. If not Aine, it could be Kofi Bentel, it could be Gabi Asaro-Chedako, it could be, you know what I mean?
Huh?
Okay. On that note, you can proceed. So,
but I'm not for one moment.
I listen to you on African TV.
Relishing a situation in which the next election will go and sit in Supreme Court. I mean, that would be a failing on our part as a people.
It's a constitutional provision.
No, the next election, all of us, including you, we should make sure that the Electoral Commission does things properly so as to leave no doubt whatsoever about who wins the election and who doesn't win the election.
Because I always disagree with you.
I don't have a problem with that.
The reason why I disagree with you is that I am a participant in an election. So I know what goes into an election.
You think I'm not a participant?
Well, I'm not saying so.
I went and voted. I'm a participant like you.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Okay.
Don't try to stretch it. What I'm trying to say is, you see, after the 2013 petition, Randy, I'm sure our Supreme Court did us the greatest favor one can ever imagine with those consequential rulings.
The orders.
The orders. That dealt, I would say, a huge blow to rigging in our elections. So anybody going into an election, once the CIs are passed, there are always two CI. This year there was a 127 and 128. You get copies of it. You read it cover to back to front to back, and understand what is actually in there, what your rights are, and what have you. Dr. Frejai kept saying this to us every time. He said, look, the EC cannot rig an election. Because if you are all holding up pink sheets, there's the declaration of result sheets and what have you, how can the EC rig elections?
Let's watch something.
Let's watch something.
Watch something.
The two fresh judges that came on the court,
Justice Afre and Lamte.
Justice Lamte and Afre, Lamte Senior. So
right.
we mentioned his name first.
In our
profession. Senior on the Supreme Court. Justice Lamptey was appointed by President Rawlings. In fact, in the opposition of some of us in the Parliament. And Justice Afre was appointed by President Kufuor. If the origin of your appointment as a judge to the Supreme Court determines your reaction to all cases, we shouldn't even have had a vote in this court, because virtually everybody on that court, with the exception of Mr. Justice Afre, was appointed by President Rawlings in one way or another, either as chairman of the PNDC or as a member, or as president of the Fourth Republic. In one or two, there are 3 or 4 who were rushed onto the court, Mr. Justice Ampia, Pega, etc., just before the Fourth Republic.
Are you justifying claims that he also rushed Justice Afre?
No, I'm not just. Well, not just. I'm just explaining that who appoints you in the conduct of the Supreme Court is usually irrelevant. They're going there to determine matters of constitutional propriety. That's what they go there to do. And they look at the matters on their merits. And the point I'm trying to make is that these 2 fresh minds that came onto the court, one appointed by President Rawlings, one appointed by President Kufuor, both of them agreed that what the majority had sought to do, what the original majority had sought to do in the original decision, was wholly erroneous, fundamentally flawed. Mr. Justice Afre used the word woeful to describe the case of the plaintiff. And I have no doubt in my mind that the decision that the Supreme Court originally pronounced was a decision that was perverse. I think it was one of the worst decisions that have come from that court. And legal scholars, when they come to make the analysis, will see that it was a decision founded on very little basis, and a great deal of artificial scholarship was employed to arrive at a decision. What is the decision? What exactly is at issue in this case?
All right, so that was the hot issues on TV3 with then Honorable Akufo-Addo, now His Excellency the President, and is expressing his views on appointments to the Supreme Court and a decision that has been taken by the Supreme Court. And it's within the context of being
appointments and decisions and what have you. But already I've said it time again. We went to the Supreme Court.
But did you notice his language? Did you notice his language?
Yeah. Why? What's so special about his language?
He accused judges of the Supreme Court of using artificial scholarship. Artificial scholarship.
He laid a basis for it.
No problem.
Yes. But that's his opinion.
If this is not scandalous of the court, how can they claim that the case has been predetermined be scandalous?
Look, see, I'm surprised.
Maybe the Chief Justice then did not think that this is something worth
because
petitioning the legal counsel about.
But it should not be left to the attitude of Chief Justices.
The law allows.
But who?
The law allows.
Because you see, in one breath, we can tolerate somebody using the argument that judges have applied artificial.
Who was the Chief Justice at the time? Was it Redu or Aqua?
It doesn't matter.
I'm asking. I just want to know for the record.
It doesn't matter.
Why? Why it does matter?
No, for me it doesn't matter.
Why doesn't it matter?
Because it's the same Supreme Court.
No. But I don't see anything scandalous about what Nanado said.
That judges used artificial scholarship in determining the case.
What is so scandalous about that?
Okay. Listen, I'm not saying that by itself is scandalous. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that if this is not scandalous, then a claim that
you get the point.
No, the point is that
if we can tolerate this and believe that, look, it's an expression of opinion. It doesn't. I mean, why don't?
What's the difference?
There's something I don't want to. There's something that I've been trying to shy away from.
Okay.
You know, a couple of days ago, there was an issue in court where the Attorney General, Godfred Dami, I think the Fix the Country people.
Yes.
And one of them had put something on Facebook about him, had described him in a way, and he showed it to the judge. And I think he indicated that he was going to, if they didn't stop that, he was going to sue them for contempt or bring them for contempt or something. And what the judge told the AG was that he should develop a thick skin. And so the judge was speaking to him and trying to let him appreciate where he is, the space that he is.
Is that Attorney General?
Yes.
No,
that
yes.
Look, maybe if you decide to pick on every single thing that you see out there, you might
be coming here every day,
able to focus on your job.
Yes.
And so the issue of developing a thick skin, it is not to mean that condone wrongdoing, but you must have a certain, I'm trying very hard. I'm speaking about not just the Chief Justice of Ghana, but a very senior friend of mine. You must have a certain level of tolerance for things like this.
A higher level of tolerance.
Yes.
Let me make the point that I was trying to make. Here is the point. If you say that judges use artificial scholarship,
you are cherry picking.
Oh, please.
He spoke for about 3 minutes.
Please. Please. If you say that judges use artificial scholarship, what are you saying? You are saying, in essence, that if they had used genuine scholarship, they would have arrived at different decisions.
Yeah, but he laid the basis.
Under what circumstances do you use artificial scholarship? You can only use artificial scholarship when the case is bad, but you want to make it good. Or when the case is good, or you want to make it bad. How is this different from a statement that the case was predetermined?
But Kwesi, at the time that the statement...
This is the substance of the matter.
Kwesi, so,
how is this different
Kwesi,
from a case being predetermined?
Kwesi, what I want you to avert your mind to is that at the time that he made this statement, there was a Chief Justice and there was a Supreme Court.
Yes.
They didn't think that a statement like this or a discussion in which he made these statements deserved a petition to the General Legal Council.
Sure.
Yes. So I think that the issue is about the threshold of tolerance. That for me is what this interview and what is happening now typifies. And that's why I
disagree with Randy.
Okay.
I disagree with Randy. Because if we leave it to individual tolerance levels and so on, we would then not have an empirical basis for making determinations.
It will be difficult for an empirical basis.
It is possible for an empirical basis. The way to establish an empirical basis for making a determination is to roll out all the principles.
So
the principles.
Yeah. So that what you're asking for.
So if you roll out the
what
principles,
you're asking for is something that is given to a General Legal Council. So they receive a petition. They receive a response to a petition. They analyze the issues. They determine whether the issues raised and the response deserve an inquiry. So there are situations where they have received petitions and they have either decided not to pursue an inquiry, or maybe they've been pleased in some cases from the Bar Association or maybe the judiciary itself, and they have discarded them. You get me? So what you are asking for is vested in the General Legal Council. That was CJ. The petition is sent to us. Having looked at it, having looked at the response from the person that you petitioned us against, we think that there's no basis.
Again, I disagree.
Okay.
The General Legal Council itself must be presumed to be acting in the overall public interest.
Yes.
And to that extent, we, the members of the public, also have a right to comment, to try as much as we can to move the General Legal Council in the direction that we want because they act on our behalf.
Okay.
That's a matter of principle.
Just that they are there to look at the professional conduct of certified lawyers.
Randy.
No problem.
Yes.
But they do that. It's a public institution. They do that.
But you cannot be dragged there.
No.
Yes.
But they do that on the assumption that they are serving the public good.
True.
Otherwise, their functions there have no relevance.
True.
And so on.
So
that's the point. Now, there's a very important point which has to be made. You understand? Justice in this country cannot be dependent on the whim of any particular person, no matter how high that person may be in our society.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
That's a principle. It's a matter of principle. How do we all work together, help ourselves, guide ourselves to arrive at that place where even discretion is exercised in a principled manner. How do we arrive at that place? That's where we are. You understand? And then, Randy, there are some elements of this case that are so very important to me. One is that this is reference to the General Legal Counsel by a Chief Justice.
Yes.
A Chief Justice comes with a lot of weight.
True.
And if you're the General Legal Counsel, you cannot ignore the fact that this reference is from a Chief Justice.
True.
That itself has its weight.
True.
You understand?
True.
That's number one. Number two, when you are referred to the General Legal Counsel, duties are imposed upon you. Duties which can sometimes be expensive. For example, you may secure counsel. And securing counsel in this country is no laughing business. You understand? Especially for ordinary people and so on. It would involve setting aside time. And you know that time can sometimes be quantified in material, terms and so on. So reference to the General Legal Counsel is not like taking a cup of tea. You understand? It may involve expenses, it may involve time, it may, all kinds of things. It even may have reputational damage impact.
True.
You understand? So it's not something to be done lightly. Now, if it has been done, and in the view of some right-thinking members of the Ghanaian society, and I want to believe that the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress is a right-thinking member of the Ghanaian society, that it's been done in a manner which undermines the right of free expression and so on, we need to look at it again so that we don't go through all this rigmarole, which in the final analysis is going to be expensive for some people, and which it's okay. Let's leave it there.
Yes.
I cannot see the head of tail of Mr. Price's argument.
Oh, I'm
Nanado, as the Attorney General at the time, spoke for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm sure it was to do with a review of the Chachikate's case.
Yes.
Where you're suffering upon the Supreme Court. And what Nanado, in fact, was saying was that the judgment, he feels that the original judgment was procured through artificial, what's the word? Scholarship.
That was very scandalous.
Well, how scandalous?
Very, very.
That's heavy. If judges can make judicial pronouncements,
but he was speaking as Attorney General
on the basis of the application,
and then
that even makes it worse.
Artificial scholarship, artificial scholarship.
Because he right.
That's not.
You are the one that Randy has been portraying as the son of a judge. Yes. Nobody has ever portrayed me as the son of a judge. You are the one who offered to give me some legal education. I didn't offer to give you legal education. With all your credentials, you should know that in all instances there is something called the gravamen of the matter. Case, the issue, or the matter. The gravamen.
So the government is the
artificial scholarship.
Randy, let's proceed. Please. Okay. So the point that Nanado was trying to make, you don't understand the point. It's just the artificial scholarship that you heard.
In relation to the matter before us now, yes, the government of all the many statements that His Excellency the President, then Attorney General, makes is the use of the two words, artificial scholarship.
Okay. All right. Well, today is the best day of Kojo Chumbuafu.
Hey.
So happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Kojo.
Kojo too has a birthday.
He has. Kojo at 52.
Kojo. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. And yesterday was the birthday of Mr. Isaac Tete, the MD of TT Brothers.
I didn't know that Kojo was such a baby.
TT Brothers. So from General IB Quarty, is wishing you a belated happy birthday. So happy birthday
Artificial
to you. Isaac Tete of TT Brothers. Well, I don't know if the next one was also procured through artificial scholarship. Ghana to pay $170 million judgment debt as London court throws out AG over flimsy excuses. And the commercial court in London has rejected a late appeal from Ghana against a judgment debt award of $134 million in favor of power contractor, the Ghana Power Generation Company, GCGP. According to London courts, the government of Ghana failed to apply and set aside the January 26, 2021 decision of the London-based United Nations Commission on International Trade Law Tribunal. Mr. Justice Butcher, in a ruling on Wednesday, June 8th, refused to grant the government of Ghana an extension to apply to set aside the award, adding that the state's grounds for challenging it were intrinsically weak. Those were the words of the German tribunal. Intrinsically weak. The government, through its lawyer, Godfrey Dami, had attempted to hide behind the 2020 general elections and the COVID-19 pandemic as excuses for the delay, but the excuses were dismissed by the London courts. GPGC was represented before the court by Charles Kimmins QC and Mark Tushinam, where Ghana was said to have been too late to challenge the decision against it. Ghana had used Kawa Koreshi Kisu of Cell Court and Volterra Fieta, having initially retained Omnia Strategy in the arbitration. GPGC used 3 Crowns and Ghanaian firm Kimati and Partners, along with damages expert from FTI Consulting. Ghana also had representation from the Attorney General's office and Amofa and Partners in Accra. The 3-member arbitration tribunal chaired by John Beche, a former president of the International Criminal Court of Arbitration, co-chaired by Professor Albert Fiajo, a Ghanaian academic, sided with the power producer and awarded almost $170 million, including interest. Out of the total, $134.35 million represents the early termination payment claim, which itself is made up of $69.36 million as early termination fee, $58.49 million for mobilization cost, $6.46 million as demobilization cost, and $32,448 as preservation and maintenance cost. The tribunal also awarded $614,353.86 against the country as the cost of the tribunal, and cost of $3 million against Ghana being the legal fees expended by GPGC during the arbitration. Major highlights of the tribunal decision included the fact that the Ahinkra committee, which recommended the termination of the contract, did not have sufficient ground in coming to the conclusion that the GPGC was entitled to only $18 million in early termination fees. The tribunal, in dismissing Ghana's case, delved into the basis for terminating the contract, stating that the evidence before it indicated that GPGC did have a building permit for the Blue Ocean site issued by the Ponkatamanso District Assembly on August 15, 2017. Government of Ghana has not been able to adduce any statute or regulation, including the Energy Commission Act, which addresses the requirement for any such additional construction permit, the tribunal ruled. On the basis of the record as it stands now, it is apparent that even as Dr. Ahinkra, Energy Commission Executive Secretary at the time, was putting up further hurdles over which he required GPGC to jump in pursuit of his provisional generation license in November 2017, the Minister of Energy was about to seek the approval of the Ghanaian Parliament of a decision to terminate the EPA along with a number of other PPAs based upon the report of the PPA committee chaired by Dr. Ahinkra. It said, under British law, the government had 28 days to challenge the tribunal's decision. However, it went to sleep only to appear in court 3 days to the expiry of the deadline to ask for an extension. Omnia Strategy, a British law firm, made the case for extension and asked for 56 days. Twice the allowed grace period. However, the court set March 8, 2021 for the government to file the processes to challenge the tribunal's decision in January. But again, the government took a long nap until April 1, April Fool's Day, 2021, before filing. Do you get that point? Let me read that part again. It says that under British law, the government had 28 days to challenge the tribunal's decision. However, it went to sleep only to appear in court 3 days to the expiry of the deadline to ask for an extension. Omnia Strategy, a British law firm, made a case for extension and asked for 56 days twice the allowed grace period. However, the court set March 8, 2021 for the government to file the processes to challenge the tribunal's decision in January. But again, the government took a long nap until April 1, 2021 before filing. This time, another British law firm, Volterra Fietta, had instructions from the government to begin the process. The law firm, which tagged itself as the only dedicated public international law firm in the world, explained that the new Attorney General, Godfred Yeboah-Adame, had only been sworn in on March 5, and the firm received a directive to represent Ghana 10 days later. But ruling on the matter on June 8, 2021, the court had no sympathies. It said the excuses were unreasonable and intrinsically weak. The presiding judge, Justice Butcher, did not hold back. The judge said the government's delay was significant and substantial, as its request for a second extension had come 38 days after the statutory deadline and 27 days after the first extension expired. He noted that the large sum of money involved in arbitration was not enough grounds for the appeal to take as long as it did. The fact that the Attorney General had not been sworn until March 5 did not mean the government was unable to act in the meantime, the judge said. Eugene, let me start off with you.
Oh, you started with me.
Who should they start with?
Kwesi, help us out.
I mean, no, well, if...
Because on the previous issue, I started with Kwesi.
No, that's fine. If the report is anything to go by, yes, then we have not done justice to ourselves as a people. Randy, I keep telling you, my experience as a deputy minister in this country exposed me to a lot of, I would say, laziness in the system, where a civil servant spends 4 weeks to respond to a simple letter from the ministry. This is very typical. I mean, from what they're going, 38 days and then 27 days, right? That's all, respectively. That's what is being quoted in the reportage. Yes. I mean, like Riley said, Godfred Dame was sworn in
5th of March.
5th of March. So,
but Attorney General's department was working.
Yes, I think the ministers were left in charge till the new appointees came in. So at the time, I think Madame Gloria Kufu was still at the helm.
In fact, this even has nothing to do with whether there's a minister or not. There's arbitration. You are part of it. You have about 22 lawyers. You have appointed foreign law firms.
Yes.
To whether there's an AG sworn in or not doesn't matter. There are court dates that have been set.
But I say,
and looking at even the amount of money involved.
If the report is anything to go by, then we have not done justice to ourselves. I mean, timelines are timelines, and we cannot be arbitrating in court forever. But I'm sure that Godfred Dame and his team will do a good job by ensuring that the right thing is done.
What can we do again?
I'm sure the lawyers will find a way.
No, Eugene, the stark reality is that under British law, when the judgment of the arbitration is given, so first of all, we appeared. We were part of the arbitration. We consented to it. We were part of the process. And a decision was given against us. By law, you had a certain number of days to appeal the decision. That was an opportunity for us. We waited 3 days to the expiry. Then we went to the court to ask for extension of time.
But they give you very cogent and potent reasons.
Which was that?
Which was that
a minister was not sworn in.
It was an election.
And there was COVID.
And there was a COVID pandemic. So these are the reasons that it's given.
Did you describe those reasons as cogent?
Oh yeah, I mean, there was an election year. There was COVID.
Eugene, to be honest, if you have the responsibility of running this republic, and there is a judgment debt of 170 million staring at you, do you say that you're running election? We're running election, so we didn't run the country. We were in court. Didn't we run the country?
But the reasons they've given,
we didn't have an attorney general sworn in. Weren't you running the country? Kwesi?
We ran the country, but
Eugene says the reasons are cogent.
Yeah, because there was COVID. Of course, there's COVID everywhere. And number two, it was an election year. So it's not like somebody's lying.
Election year, so you won't go to court.
Oh, nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. But these were the reasons.
But election year, Opuni and others were still going to court.
Okay.
No, Master, the presidential election petition
Yes.
Was in court at the time that COVID cases were peaking.
Yes, yes. I mean, maybe we should have abandoned the election petition because there was COVID. Because I don't know what you make of this.
Well, for me, there are a number of very interesting things. One is that, based on all that I've read, it is at least apparent that the views of the Attorney General were not sought in the discussions leading to the abrogation of the contract. And I find that very strange. I mean, if you have such a huge contract, and it is going to be abrogated, one would have thought that the views of the Attorney General would be important. Especially the views of the Attorney General that Madame Gloria Kufu was. I'm a layperson. I've read some of her views on some of these disputes and so on. And I was so very impressed by her objectivity. You understand? There are many others from across the political divide who have expressed deep satisfaction with the work that Madame Gloria Kufu did as Attorney General. Now, how come that she was not involved in these discussions and so on? Very strange. So I find that exceedingly strange. Now, I've also been reading statements made by the then Minister of Energy, my own very good friend Boachi Ejaku, which insists that he was not the person who decided to abrogate the contract. You understand? That at best, he only implemented a decision. Who made that decision? Who made that decision? Was that decision made in cabinet? And if that decision was made in cabinet, how come that the Attorney General was not involved? Because the Attorney General sits in cabinet. So if this decision was made in cabinet, the Attorney General ought to have known about it. And if the Attorney General knew about it, why didn't the Attorney General advise properly and so on? I mean, it's a bit of a mess. I mean, it's a bit of a mess.
Randy.
Then,
I told you. Yeah.
No, sir. Then there's the issue of how we allowed this matter to go before the International Court of Arbitration and failed to represent ourselves. I can't explain it. I mean, how can anybody explain how you go to arbitration and you fail woefully to represent yourself? In the end...
In fact, there's even a reason why we appointed foreign law firms.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Yeah. You know, so this whole thing is bizarre. I mean, completely bizarre. And I'm actually hoping that at a certain point, you know, we'll get better clarity than we have now. Because there are other aspects which, for me, are strikingly interesting. For example, the person at the center of all of this appears to be a gentleman called Damien Duncan.
Yes.
You understand? Now, from what I'm reading about Damien Duncan, he's not a stranger. You understand? He's not a stranger to the current establishment. And I'm choosing my words carefully. So how come that somebody who is not a stranger to the current establishment has such a huge contract and it is cancelled in the manner in which it is cancelled, if you are to believe the then Minister of Energy? If you are to believe the then Minister of Energy, this was not his decision.
Apparently the termination was on the recommendation of the then Attorney General.
Madam Gloria.
That's what I hear, yeah.
But
yes,
what I'm
yes.
also
that took place on the 28th of August, 2017. The Attorney General. I don't know. I've got some more information here from you to help viewers.
Okay, that would be interesting.
Yes. Yeah. Well, let's stick to the timeline so that everybody gets to know what's happened. On the 3rd of June 2015, Government of Ghana entered into an emergency power purchase agreement (EPA) with GPGC for the supply of 107 megawatts of power. In September 2016. The S1 Ministry of Power under the NDC constituted and inaugurated an interministerial committee, the PPA committee, to review the NDC, to review the financial and legal implications of the PPAs executed by the NDC government. This was because, as is apparent from the report of the committee, the NDC government had realized that the execution of the PPAs, in brackets, most of which were not needed, would result in excess supply or financial loss. The committee's work concluded with a report recommending termination of some PPAs in order to avoid payment of high excess capacity costs. On the 28th of August 2017, the Attorney General, that's Madame Gloria Kufuor, Minister for Justice, presented an opinion from the Ministry of Energy recommending a termination of the GPGC agreement based on the report of the PPA committee. In November 2017, the Minister for Energy, Mr. Boakye Jakon, reported to Parliament, among other things, that the PPA committee set up in September 2016 had recommended that 11 PPAs, including GPGC's EPA, should be terminated. By a letter dated 18 February 2018, the Minister of Energy terminated the GPGC EPA. On 13 August 2018, GPGC commenced arbitration proceedings. Arbitration proceedings were vigorously contested by GOG. GOG was represented by the law firm of Amufa and Partners, as well as the Office of the Attorney General. Full hearing was conducted virtually in August 2020. On 26 January 2021, the arbitral tribunal, in brackets, the London Court of International Arbitration, delivered its decision awarding to GPGC the sum of $134,348,661 million, interest on the amount from 12 November 2018 and 309,877.74 cents in costs. Arbitral awards are final and not subject to appeal. However, a loser may challenge the award to the Higher Court of England on very limited grounds. Those grounds relate to 1. Lack of jurisdiction, 2. Denial of a hearing, or corruption in the proceedings.
But this last bit of information really is
let's flow.
Okay.
Then we come back to it, please. GOG, even though the grounds for a challenge of the arbitral award did not really seem plausible, was interested in testing the soundness of the award, as it felt same was unreasonable and there had been inadequate consideration of its case. A London-based law firm, Omnia Strategy LLP, headed by Cherie Blair, CBEQC, wife of Tony Blair, represented to GOG. Yes, that's the wife of Tony Blair.
So Blair is back in again.
Well, that's the wife of Tony Blair, Cherie.
Yeah, so I said, so Blair is back in again.
Well, Cherie Blair is the wife of former Prime Minister of Britain.
Very interesting.
So when he came here and was making
let me finish with it. We can go back to it.
His wife had a contract.
Just go on.
Represented to GOG that he could file a challenge on behalf of GOG. Towards the end of February 2021, Omnia obtained leave of the High Court, London, to file the challenge. By the terms of the order granted, they were to file a challenge by 8th March 2021. On the 7th of March 2021, they indicated to GOG that the grounds for a challenge of the award did not exist in the circumstances of the case, and therefore they could not file the anticipated challenge. They advised GOG to settle the award and that they could assist GOG to settle the award. Now, can the current Attorney General be blamed for the failure to file a challenge of the arbitral award? Godfred Yeboah Dame was appointed Attorney General on 5th March 2021, long after the arbitral
But what
award.
is this about the person of Godfred Dame? It is the Republic of Ghana.
Wendy, let's deal with it.
You know why I raised that thing? You see, people should stop
personalizing matters.
People should stop making everybody look stupid. The Republic of Ghana is engaged in a legal process. So who was?
I'm coming. The office of the, listen here, Randy, the question is, it answers your question. The office of Attorney General is in a peculiar situation, full stop. The Legal Service Act prescribes the Solicitor General to be in charge of the ministry whenever the Attorney General and Deputy Attorney General are not in office. Appointed Attorney General on 5th of March 2021, the first working day for Yeboah Dame was 9th March. This
is just to exonerate Yeboah Dame, but at least what you've read shows that there was somebody in charge at all material times. And so the issue of when an AG was sworn in or not is neither here nor there.
But Randy, Eugene, can I?
Oh, yeah, I'm done, yes.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
I have in my hands a quotation from the former energy minister. Which actually makes, I have to choose my words very carefully, which actually renders all the arguments which are being made. Okay, I won't describe it, but I'll just read it. This is a quotation from the former energy minister. It says, I just realized that they had filed for arbitration on August 11, 2018. And this is a quotation from an engagement he had on Oman FM. Says, I just realized that they had filed for arbitration on August 11, 2018. This was after I had left the ministry. I never knew they had gone for arbitration. I'm told that the government presented itself at the arbitration. How would someone accuse me of cancelling the contract? And this is very important. This is very, very important. This is the former energy minister asking. How would someone accuse me of cancelling the contract? I have not cancelled any contract. I don't have the power nor the need or desire to cancel it. I am for what will help Ghana, he said. Clear quotation. Okay? So all these claims that it was the minister who cancelled the contract and so on, they are being denied by the minister. Clearly, flatly being denied by the minister.
But the minister Somoto cannot cancel a contract, can he? He has to go before cabinet.
Yeah.
The minister ends by saying, and this is also very important.
See, why you are belaboring the point? You know the minister cannot do so much.
But listen to this. I don't have the power, nor the need or desire to cancel it.
No, but because he cannot do it.
Can I finish?
Okay, sure.
I am for what will help Ghana. Emphasis. Why do you think the minister had to end like that? I am for what will help Ghana.
You understand better, so tell us.
Okay. So it is clear. Now, the claim also that the law firm failed to file
a challenge
is also false.
Why?
It is false to the extent that what is on record is that the law firm advised the government of Ghana to go and settle, not to file a challenge. The law firm, after examining the merits of the case and everything, came to the government of Ghana and said,
no. You probably missed what I read. They rather said they could file a challenge, and then later on came back and said they should go and settle.
Yeah. So what is the situation? They advised the government of Ghana to go and settle. So they didn't fail to file a challenge because in their view, filing a challenge was a fruitless exercise. In their view. That was the view of the law firm. Now what is important is that one of the lawyers we hired to present our case was the wife of the former British Prime Minister Tony Blair.
What does it got to do with anything? She's a lawyer.
Have you forgotten that around this period, Tony Blair visited the country?
Yes. So was
and
it
made some political statement?
Like what?
Oh. Are you saying you are not aware?
No, I didn't listen to him.
Oh, okay. Then it's okay.
I don't listen to him.
So he was not talking by heart. At the time he was talking,
what did he say? Say it to the viewers.
The viewers know what he said.
Oh, how?
The viewers know.
Everyone listens to
the viewers know who
fact,
Tony Blair came to praise.
We see the ruling.
Yeah.
The ruling does not even support that assertion about grounds for appeal and the decision, because this is what it says. It says under British law, and this is from the proceedings of the arbitration, that under British law, the government had 28 days to challenge the tribunal's decision. However, it went to sleep only to appear in court 3 days to the expiry of the deadline to ask for an extension. An Omnia strategy, that's where the Blair comes in. Originally, that was not the law firm that we were using. A British law firm made the case for extension and asked for 56 days, twice the allowed grace period.
So originally, which law firm were you using?
It's in the brief.
The Amofa one.
There were two law firms.
No, apart from the Amofa,
and then there was a British firm.
No, so I want to.
We had the Attorney General's office and we had Amofa and Partners. Yes.
But I know in Britain. But I know in Britain, Randy.
Yes.
Most firms are just purely solicitors.
Ghana used Kawa Qureshi QC of Selcott and Volterra Fieta, having initially retained Omnia strategy in the arbitration.
We are probably QCs because they are top lawyers,
yes.
top-notch lawyers.
Yeah. You know, and after the 56 days, he says in January, but again, the government took a long nap until April 1, 2021, before filing. And this time, another British law firm, Volterra Fieta, had instructions from the government to begin the process. The law firm, which tagged itself as the only dedicated public international law firm in the world, explained. So these were the explanations that they took there. That the new Attorney General had only been sworn in on March 5, and the firm received the directive to represent Ghana 10 days later, 15th March. But the ruling on the matter on June 8, 2021, the court had no sympathies. It said the excuses were unreasonable and intrinsically weak. So nowhere did the court make an issue of our grounds for appeal not sufficient or not founded in law or anything. It just had to do with our late filing and our excuses for wanting extension of time and all that.
This would even suggest that we've lost the right to appeal.
It's gone.
Yeah, we've lost the right to appeal.
It's gone. I think it will be the right time to take a break.
The search for a reliable partner in dealing with your U-turn bus needs has been made easier and convenient with SA Automobile. SA Automobile, formerly U-turn Ghana Limited, has been in the business of offering quality U-turn products and services at competitive rates. At SA Automobile, our team of expert staff, management, engineers, and mechanics professionally deal in the sale of U-turn buses, genuine spare parts, its repairs and maintenance at our highly effective workshop with remarkable speed. We also have available the sale of Camel car batteries, Weichai and Kia spare parts, Zonton coaches and light-duty vehicles for everyday movement. Contact us on 020-000-0831 or 054-555-7500. You can also email us info@saautomobilegh.com or visit our website at www.saautomobilegh.com. SA Automobile, the pleasure of doing business with you is all ours.
Masa, tam Maria, I'm going to cook fire with no more Jabona Jam. Have a beer, you can be right.
HD logo the bottom. When you say HD local channels na mo and so pictures near clear. A 5 times better. As other channels that could be sure. So the mention on Tramra. Oh, what the pictures. What a picture. For you AD plus decoder or multi TV and now electroland agent PR natural local channels now HD the here's of better star 879 hash numbers from people box and now the activate AD channels now you can
get an HD Plus decoder from now till the 9th of August for just $89.99 Ghana cedis and enjoy 3 months free subscription. Enjoy all the excitement and live sports action in the HD Plus Air Bosu Fili promo lasts from 7th June to 9th August 2021. Visit hd-plus.com.gh or call 024-243-9872 for more info.
Half a nose for good things.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still me on the show, I have Kwesi Prajina and Eugene Boachi Entry. The show is brought to you in kind partnership with X Natural Mineral Water. So yesterday there was a publication which spoke about the strain, the Indian one, which is called Delta. That's the name they've given it. That is come to Ghana, and the alarming thing was that they even said that the AstraZeneca and Sputnik V were not efficient against that one. But the ministry, the Ghana Health Service, has issued a statement signed by Dr. Patrick Kumar Bwaji, who is the Director General. And it reads, re-COVID-19 deadly Indian strain detected in Ghana, Sputnik V, AstraZeneca vaccines not effective against it. So the Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service take note of a publication so you can read along with us, by myjoyonline.com on 21st June 2021 with the headline COVID-19 deadly Indian strain detected in Ghana, Sputnik V, AstraZeneca vaccines not effective against it. The service hereby informs the general public that 1. All passengers who test positive at Kotoka International Airport are put under mandatory isolation. 2. All positive samples are sent for further testing, genomic sequencing to identify the variants. 3. Variant sequence from samples of positive cases at the airport do not necessarily end up in the community. 4. As of now, the country has detected 6 Delta variants of the SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19 virus from all samples taken between April and June 2021 at the ports of entry. No Delta variant has been detected from samples taken from cases in the community. The Ministry of Health and Ghana Health Service further informed the general public that in April 2021, there was a surge in cases at the airport, during which period 308 positives were identified. However, Ghana has not experienced a third wave, partly due to the robust surveillance system in place at the port of entry and strict isolation of all cases detected. On the issue of vaccines, reports that Sputnik V and AstraZeneca vaccines are not effective against the Delta strain of SARS-CoV-2 are untrue. According to the Public Health England, 2 doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine are highly effective against hospitalization due to the Delta variant and showed no deaths among those vaccinated. The data also suggests that AstraZeneca vaccine is effective against symptomatic disease caused by the Delta variant. A study conducted by Gamaleya Center suggests that Sputnik V is more efficient against the Delta variant of coronavirus, first detected in India, compared to other COVID-19 vaccines. It must be noted that in the midst of global supply shortages, the Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service are diligently working with government to ensure that adequate vaccines are procured to protect the population. The Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and the Food and Drugs Authority are working collaboratively to ensure that vaccines that come into the country are safe and effective. The service would like to urge Ghanaians to take advantage of vaccination when their turn is due, while entreating the general public to adhere to the COVID-19 prevention protocols, that is, wearing of face mask, practicing of hand hygiene, and physical distancing as part of the strategies. So, we see that's a statement from the authorities, the Ghana Health Service, and basically it's to assure us that they are on top of the issues, and they make a case that yes, the Delta strain has been identified from the samples that were collected at the airport, and those persons were isolated. But in terms of the samples collected from the community, that's the people, they have not detected a Delta strain yet.
That's an interesting part of this whole discussion, because yesterday I heard officials of our health services say that this virus was not in the community yet. You know, I was beginning to wonder what that meant, given the fact that the airport itself, the whole of the airport, is in the community. And in any case, these persons traveled into this country on aircraft which had Ghanaians on board and so on. So I was wondering what that really meant. But today they provided some explanation. I don't wholly accept that explanation, but that's the reality. Now, when we are sure that things are okay, we need not panic and so on, I wonder the basis of that assurance. Given the fact that as at now, the number of Ghanaians who have had the 2 doses of vaccines are less than 400,000. Alright? Number of Ghanaians who have had the 2 vaccines, 2 doses.
About 360,000.
Less than 400,000.
Yes.
The number which has had just 1.
About 900,000.
About 900,000. And we are told, they themselves are telling us, that for us to begin to develop what they call herd immunity, 20 million Ghanaians need to be vaccinated.
That's why they are acquiring millions of Sputnik V at 26 cedis, $26.
So that's what they tell us. It means that we need at least about 38, 39 million vaccines to be able to get there. How are we getting there? So we should be really worried about the current situation. Okay. Now, the initial information we had was that this Delta variant, had developed to the extent that the AstraZeneca and the Sputnik V were not effective in dealing with it. The health services now tell us that it is not true, and that AstraZeneca and Sputnik V, can't deal with them. Let us hope that that is true. As a matter of fact, this virus, we learn something new every day. Every day we learn something new. And I don't think that we know enough about the virus to be able to make definitive statements about how to deal with it and so on. I mean, just this morning, when I woke up, I just learned, for example, that it affects the brain. I mean, all along it has been described as a lung, a virus that mainly affects the lung and so on. This morning, there's evidence that it goes through the nose and the blood and so on into the brain and can have very serious consequences for brain function and so on. So, look, we don't know enough. And what we can do now is just to continue to exercise caution on the basis of the scientific facts that have been established. It will be so dangerous for any society to lower its guard. And we should not lower our guard. That's all I have to say.
Eugene, are you comforted?
Yeah, well, they are the experts. Who am I to challenge them? I just have to continue observing the protocols that have been announced by the government. I think the president has done extremely well by giving us these updates from time to time, by talking to the experts and advising us on.
They say your region is very notorious for breaching the protocols with funerals. His region has gained notoriety for breaching the protocols with funerals. Your funerals are a big thing in your region.
Very big. And the thing is, sometimes it's difficult to control the crowd, Andy.
Ashanti region sees rising COVID-19 cases. Statesman.
That doesn't surprise you? In the last month or so, I mean, funerals are very difficult functions to control crowds, really. I mean, so but I mean, we should continue to observe the social protocols as announced by the president in consultation with his medical experts, and keep praying, because it's going up everywhere. Everywhere. It's not just Ghana. Everywhere, it's going up, and something ought to be done about it. But yes, in the third wave, yes. And even now, those of us who have been doubly vaccinated are still not even safe. That's the worst. That's the worst, because I think listening to Boris Johnson, he said that those of us who have taken the 2 jabs were free to move around and stuff. But now it's all gone. And we don't know what's going to happen in the next month or so.
But there's a big problem. I mean, I got to learn over the weekend that the QR code at the end of our vaccination card is useless.
Why?
It hasn't been linked to data anymore.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
It's not been linked yet.
Yes.
No,
as of yesterday.
Really?
Yes.
Why? Has the person traveled outside?
Yesterday, I had friends of mine scanning and sending results. Everybody had.
Where? Outside of here?
Yeah, in Ghana. You can scan yours, so you have it. I have mine in the car, I've scanned it, right. It hasn't been linked to the data, and it has not been linked to the international network. Now, this came out because a friend of ours, traveled to Qatar. And Qatar, because of the fake certificates that have been issued and so on, they depend on this card. When they scan, it said there was no information. So that's what triggered
the QR code on our vaccination card.
Yes,
it's not been linked.
It's not been linked to anything.
Really? Because they check the first card and give us a second card.
It's just like
a sticker.
It's just like a photo for nothing.
I hope that's also not $26.
No, you can check when you get out.
No, why would I disbelieve? I believe you.
Maybe Annie should get the Ghana Health Service people on the line now, so we can.
But they have admitted it. Yesterday they admitted it. I raised it.
And what's their reason?
I don't know.
No, what's the reason?
They admitted that is the truth.
But why? So what's the reason? Why?
Can there be a reason?
So why did they put a sticker there at a cost?
That QR code is there for nothing.
I'm sure it's there for something, but maybe it has not been linked to the.
No, so why won't you link it? What does it take?
No, because they took the old cards, given this thing.
Yes.
Going to be done about
that was
this.
the reason why they gave us that.
Acceptance, recognition, what have you. That was the idea. That's what I thought. Because
so if you're going to a country that accepts the vaccination, yes, cards and all that, I mean, what you have is useless.
It's useless. It doesn't do anything.
But they can challenge you and say that it's even fraud. It's even fraudulent, sorry. And
That's our situation. That's the situation in which we find ourselves. And you have yours.
Yes.
Go and scan it and see.
Maybe I should just close and go.
Yeah, we should close and go. That is there to say again.
Yesterday I was watching CNN. And I said I was even going to ask you. I just remembered. Cuba. They are rolling out 3 vaccines. And one of them, the interesting one I found is that one that has, there's one, a double dose. It has efficacy of 62%. Now there's one that has efficacy of 92 point something percent, but that's 3 doses.
Yes.
Wow.
Cuba is rolling out vaccines, okay.
But they are yet to receive the emergency approval.
Oh, but they are going to start with their own population and those who want to and so on. One of them, if you get 3 doses, it gives you the highest percentage of efficacy so far in the world.
Yes,
97.
Okay.
Between 95 and 97%.
Okay. I was watching it yesterday and I saw it. I saw it there.
Yeah, but that's Cuba. I mean, Cuba has been producing vaccines for God knows how long. You know? And Cuba has been developing things in medicine which are very interesting. I mean, you know the scorpion poison? They've used it to produce an anti-cancer drug.
Wow.
The scorpion poison.
Really? All right. Yesterday, there's a story we looked at. Eugene, first of all, I want to find out from you if you think that it should be replicated by every regional minister and whether you think that it will work based on your experience. You know, I'll beg Nana Addo to sack non-performing MMDCs in Accra after 6 months in Nkote. And he says that he's vowed to cause the dismissal of MMDCs who do not perform satisfactorily in their roles. According to him, the performance of MMDCs in Accra will be assessed every 6 months, after which recommendations will be made for the dismissal of the low-performing officials. He insisted that the job of MMDCs is not limited to the confines of the offices but on the ground, and they must be ready to be on the field to work. He said he will plead with President Akufo-Addo to sack any MC who fails to perform creditably after the 6-month duration. Quote, I don't know about other regions. That's why I ask you. But in Greater Accra, if you are confirmed as an MC, I want to go and kneel down before Mr. President that 6 months into your administration and you are not performing, we will sack you. As an MC, we expect you to work hard. Don't sit in your office and do capacity building. Go to the field. That is where the work is. We will try and get an appraisal to the local government minister every 6 months. And if we think you are not doing well, we will sack you.
Randy, I fully agree with Henry Cote, but I think that problem was going to be cured by
election. Yeah. In the absence of the election.
Why do we always keep arming our presidents with more power and unnecessary dismissals? And it's not easy to dismiss somebody, is it really? You know, put somebody in a position for 6 months and dismiss him, and this person can also have a problem with them, dismiss them. Where does that lead us? I'm of the firm view that experience has taught us, at least in this Fourth Republic, that election is the way to go, right? Because you are accountable to the people, right? Every 4 years you have to go back to them, and if your votes are decreasing because of poor visibility or one thing or the other, then you get punished for it. I don't think that we should constantly be expecting the president to be appointing and dismissing people when the electorate can do that easily for us. You understand? Easily for us. What Harry is saying, I do agree with it, because some MMDCs, once they are sworn in, you know, become untouchable, depending on where the appointment came from. You understand? Sometimes I think in this Fourth Republic, most of our electoral defeats, either the NPP or NDC, have been caused by the MMDCs. When there's tension at the base between MMDCs and the MPs and what have you, it leads to rupture, and that rupture inevitably, ultimately leads to electoral loss. And I am for the firm belief that we should look at it again, Kwesi. We should look at the situation where even assembly members are elected, you know, on partisan lines, you know. Because now, from the results of the 2020 elections, we are all certain. There's one thing that we're all certain about, that you cannot take, you know, the aspirations of these illiterates for granted. You understand? They'll punish you when you least expect it. You understand? And I support him. Has been doing a marvelous job since he took over. And we should all be mindful that we don't bring partisan. I was listening to Honorable, what's his name? The other side of Dansuman.
Okuvandapoy.
You know, when he did his bit by trying to clear up the city and the frustration and the impediments that were put in his way, you know, and sometimes you wonder, whether, Randy, anyway, let me pause here for Mr. Pratt to come in.
Kwesi, will this work?
I agree with Eugene to the extent that useful if we got municipal and district chief executives elected. I mean, that has been the position that we have canvassed over a long period of time. We've not been able to achieve that because of partisan rivalry and contestation and so on. But ideally, that's where we should be headed. There is something, however, that I've not been able to quite, put a thumb on. I mean, Honorable Henry Quartey, everybody says he's doing quite well. He's having clean-up exercises and demolition of unauthorized structures and so on. I haven't seen that happening in Ayawaso Central.
It says that will be next. Yeah. It says that,
you don't follow him, man.
It says the secular area.
He has a program.
Yeah.
You don't follow him.
I've been following.
Oh, yes.
But why hasn't it happened in his own constituency?
He's going to go there.
Oh, okay, fine. We'll see what happens when he
when it gets to Alaju, eh?
Yeah, Alaju, Kotobabi,
yes. Those areas.
Yeah, Pig Farm. I cried with Agbaji now. So, yeah.
All right. Okay. We need to go, but once again, a happy birthday to Kojo Chumbuafu.
Oh, I sent you a lovely photo. Put your
yes,
he had waves in secondary school.
That's when he was called Stiro.
Stiro?
Yeah. When he was in Achimota school.
Yes.
And where's that picture of Kojo Chumbuafu?
Yeah, put it up and let's see me and his waves.
That's
it.
Hey, that's
boys have grown. Boys have grown. Have you seen his blazer?
Yeah. Stiro.
Have a blast, bro.
Yeah, Tuni Panchini.
Oh. Those days, eh?
Tuni Panchini. Anyway, and a belated happy birthday to you, TT Brothers, today. Yesterday was your birthday, so happy birthday from General IB Quartey and all of us. Happy birthday to you. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me, and thanks for watching. God willing, we'll be able to have some good news tomorrow. Have a pleasant day.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
bini enyanku posa manika ensinenim wakati na Mose se Mose kwana kwaje me man afri me trim Mose ebisa Ewurade se Ewurade se me kwa na se Pharaoh bisa me a me kan kire ne se wose se Pharaoh bisa wa ka kire ne se me din ene me ara na me ara mfiti ase na me wo ho ewie yanso me wo ho o se me ara ne me ara Yehovah no si ayame ara ne me ara oh ayame ara ne me ara yeah no si me ara ne me ara ukwa kachire felo se ayame ara ne me ara Yehovah no si me arane mi aro mi arane mi aro mi arane mi aro mi arane mi aro ya no se ay manda da basia baka osi ya mi arane mi ara Mose se Pharaoh bisawa Yehovah me na mesi menuma samne se ya mi arane mi ara ya mi ara ne mi aro ya na se mi ara ne mi ara sa way akami asebi asama Ewurade akachire ne man Israel e with Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 1 was say uritu sa ene watamfo akoko na wohunu apomko wohunu atiase anam wohunu woman a wodoso esene wo a ensuro won efri se Ewurade